After graduating, Kaveh's first project was helping out with a group project with other students of the same darshan, though they had different mentors. This being his debut as the person responsible for design, the work weighed heavily on him. But he is, by his own admission, a stubborn person, and he would spend all his energy on his work. And thus would he shoulder the work for others, heedless of the hour, on all manner of projects for 2 entire years. Once he had gained enough experience, Kaveh left these cooperative projects behind to work in his own name, gaining a clientele who appreciated his style. Some would ask him to design buildings, and this marked the beginning of his career. By dint of his hard work, he was able to save up a good sum of mora. It did not take long, however, for Kaveh to hit a bottleneck. The demands of the market were very different from academic design. It was more pragmatic, more snobbish, and the client's requirements were far harder to meet than his mentors had been. At the same time, academic trends in Sumeru were disrupting his work. He began to realize that his ideals and career goals were, as a certain someone had said, not easily attainable. New iterations of the schools of thought and viewpoints amongst researchers were constantly being created, and there was no lack of those who would engage in self-critique and self-reflexive questioning, with changes and improvements as social factors encouraging such considerations. As such, things that were once recommended might someday become objects of criticism, whether they be actual books or art. But other than those who had given themselves wholly over to art, no one could understand what artists in Sumeru had to endure. As academic accomplishments became ever more prized in Sumeru, researchers would in turn value pure academic accomplishments and practical skills more highly. The 6 sages would grow ever more radical in their ways, and the idea that the arts provide no real benefits started to become mainstream. Thus, those who worked in the arts would be marginalized, and those subjects that were often related to the arts sought to distance themselves. The engineering projects that Kaveh came into contact with were highly streamlined, bereft of all flair or style. He would suggest various beautiful designs, only to have them rejected on the grounds that they were meaningless presentation, or that this project only needs practical buildings. His original pursuit was to make good designs for all that incorporated both artistic beauty and practicality. But now that the arts had become a joke, and people rejected their necessity and value, no one would give him freedom to work on his designs. Kaveh, believing that architecture was indeed art, resolutely opposed such viewpoints. But his job required him to have technical support and investments, and so he could not escape these circles, nor could he simply put his views out there in the open for fear that he might drag too many others down with him. With his dreams and career now at odds, Kaveh gave himself a long vacation. But when he returned home, he received an unexpected letter from Fontaine. It was his mother, and she wrote that she had found someone to whom she could entrust the rest of her life, and as such was going to remarry in Fontaine. It was this news that she would, with great trepidation and expectation, relate to her only relative. Kaveh wrote back and congratulated her, would even go to Fontaine to take part in the wedding. It was a simple affair, and only a few guests were present. Seeing his mother smile once more, Kaveh felt glad, but felt lost almost immediately afterwards. His mother would leave all her property in Sumeru to him. 3 days later, he would return to Sumeru, and once again felt the terror of the empty home. The mere act of sitting on the sofa tormented him with heretofore unmatched solitude. Here, he felt the old adage of all wise scholars being fulfilled. Do the right thing, no matter what it costs you.